Welcome back to the Python from Zero. In the previous part, we have learned what programming is, what is programming language, what is Python, where the Python is used, and we also wrote our first Python program. But there is one important question left. How does Python actually remember the information? So for example, if I want Python to remember my name, my age, and my college, how could I store that information? That's why today's topic come in. In this part, we are going to learn about variables and data type. So these are the two most basic and important concepts in programming. Don't worry if the words sound technical. By the end of the video, you will understand them very easily. So let's start with the most basic question. What's exactly a variable? So a variable is basically a way of our program to store information. Think about a variable like a jar. Imagine I have a jar with a label saying name. Inside that jar, I keep the value C4. So we can imagine the name points to C4. Similarly, I could have another jar called age, and inside it, I could store 21, and another one called city containing Vadodara. So, the important thing to understand is a variable has a name, and that name allows us to access the value stored inside it. And we can use that value again later in our program. Another important thing is that the value of a variable can change. For example, my age is 21 today. I could later update that value when I turn 22. So a variable is basically a name place where the program can keep informations and use the information later. Let's see this practically because this concept will become much more clear when we actually write it. So here we are in VS Code. So let's create our first variable. So let me first create a new file naming variable.py. So here I am creating my first variable. I'm calling that variable as name. And to store something inside it, I have to use the quotation mark and I have to add some information inside it. Then I'm creating another variable as age and I'm adding a value inside it that is 21. That's my age actually, sorry. And finally, I'm creating another variable that is city and I am using as Vadodara inside it. So now to print it, I have to write print function and whatever variable that I wanted to print, that is the name and the age and the city. So now when I run this program, it is giving me the output that is inside the variable. So the Python remember the value that we stored. So when you use the variable name inside the print function, the Python gives us the value that is stored inside that. So this is the basic idea of the variables. When we write the name equal to C4, we are doing something called assignment. Assignment is simply means we are giving a value to a variable. There are three important parts here. First, we have to write the variable name. In our example, that is name. And second, we have the equal sign. And the third, we have the value. C4 is the value you are storing. So you can read it as store the value C4 in the variable name called name. And here is a very important point for the beginner. The sign equal to in Python doesn't mean mathematically equality. It means assignment. We are telling Python, take the value and store under this name. So here you can see the C4 is stored in the name variable. So whenever we print the name, the Python look at the variable and give in the value store inside it. So whenever we are printing the name, the Python is looking at the variable and giving the name inside it that is C4. And as you can see, the output is also showing as the C4. So now if we have changed the value, then the variable will still called name, but the information stored inside that will be something else. So assume instead of C4, I am writing something like John. So now if I run this program, It is giving me the output that is John because the variable is the same, but the content or the information inside that variable have changed. So this is why we can say that the variable value can change. Now that we know how to create a variable, there is another thing we need to learn. How should we name a variable? Naming a variable. Variable names might seem like a small things, but good naming makes the code much easier to understand. Imagine I write a equal to 21. What is a? Maybe it's a age, maybe it's a mark, maybe it's some kind of number of the student. We don't know. But if you write student age equal to 21, immediately we understand what's the value represent. So the first rule is use meaningful names. If you are storing someone's age, it should be something like student age. If you are storing the name of the college, use college name. Another common Python convention is called snake case. When a variable name contains multiple words, we separate those words using underscore. So instead of using student age, we write student underscore age. And there is another important thing. Python is a case sensitive. That means capital A age and small a age are treated different as a name. So you need to be consistent with your spelling and capitalization. Let's look at some correct and incorrect example. So at first, let's comment out this. And if you don't know about comment, go check out a previous video where I have tell you what is the comment. So now there is a good example. Like if you are writing student underscore age equal to 21 and college name equal to Parul University. So these are the good example because the name is clearly tell us that what does the value represent. Now, if we remove the underscore, it is already showing me the error. It does not work because we can't put space inside the variable name. Here also you can see it's also having invalid because the variable name cannot start with a number. So what we have done here, technically names like this can be valid as many situations, but they are not very disciplined. They are not very disciplined. If someone read your codes here, they have no idea what a or x represent. So don't just write the code that works. Try to write the codes that another person can understand. Now we know how to create a name and variable, but there is another question. Is every value in Python is same? Obviously not. C4 is a different from 21 and 21 is different from 5.7. Python needs to know what the kind of information each value represent. That's where data types come in. A data types tell Python what kind of information a value represent. Think about it that way. A variable tell us where we are storing the informations and data type tell us what kind of information the information is. In this part, we are going to focus on our four basic data types. First, we have string written as str. The string are text, for example, C4, Vadodara. Then we have integer written as int. Integers are the whole number like 21, 85, etc. Then we have a float, which is written as small letter float. A float are the number that contains decimal value like 5.7, 99.50. And finally, we have Boolean that is written as small bool. So Boolean values can only be one or two things, true or false. So let's start with string. String is simply text. Whenever we want Python to understand something as text, we put it inside a quote. For example, C4, Vadodara. Python support both single quote and double quote. So the both code are valid. The important thing is that you use the code properly. Without code, the Python may not understand that we are trying to write text. So I am creating one another file that is data types dot phi. And let's start. So if I type name equal to underscore quotation mark C4 and city as Vadodara, and then I print them, print name and print city. Both the name and city contain text, so the Python treats them as a string. So now, if you write the first name as C4 and the last name as Patel, and now print the first name plus the last name, and let's run this. As you can see, Python have joined these two pieces of text together. This operation is called concatenations. We can use to add space between themselves. Like we have to add a quotation mark and a space between them, and then again use the plus symbol and write the last name. Now, if you write this, you can see there is a space between the name. There is a space between the name. So the main thing to remember is the string are the text and the stack is written inside the codes. Now let's move to the number. The Python mainly gave us two basic number types that we are focusing today. The first is integers or int. The integers are the whole number. For example, 21, 85. These are not decimals. The second is float. The floats are the number that contains decimal values. For example, 5.7, 99.50. So the easiest way to remember is the whole number is integer and the decimal number is float. So if we write age equal to 21, marks equal to 90.5, height equal to 132, sorry, height equal to 132, and price equal to 99.56. So here the age and the height are the integers and the marks and the price are the float. So now let's print this. Print age, marks, height, and price. So when we run this, it's going to give us the same value. So now let's do A equal to uh, 10 and B equal to 5. Sorry, equal to 5. Now let's print A plus B, print A minus B, print A multiplication B, and print A divide by B. So the Python can perform calculation using this value. The first one is for addition, the second was is for subtraction, the third is for multiplication, and the fourth is for division. So let's run this. Okay, let's do one thing easier for you. Now let's run this. So as you can see, after adding A plus B, we are getting the result as 15. Same after subtracting A minus B, we are getting the result 5, and multiplying A and B, we are getting the value 50. But one thing that you have noticed here that the that this operator we use is normal for division and Python return as a float format. So if you later want the integer divisions, Python also provide double slash. So you don't need to memorize every operators right now. Just understand that the Python can perform mathematical operations using numbers. So after using the double slash, if we print this, we can see we are not getting the value in float. We are getting the value in integer. Now let's look at the data type that is slightly different. It's called Boolean or bool, true or false. So basically, the Boolean have only two possible values, true or false. Think about a question that have only two possible values. Are you the user logged in? Yes or no? Is the light turned on? Yes or no? Is the person a student? Yes or no? In a programming, we can represent this answer using Boolean values. For example, is student equal to true means if the person is a student, and is login is equal to false means the user isn't currently logged in. So the Boolean value becomes especially useful when we write starting and teaching Python how to make decisions. So let's take with a small example. So here I have written the code. Is student is true and is login is false. So now let's print this thing, and if we print this, we can see the result is in true and false. So now if we write this, here we are using Boolean value to make a simple decision. So if a student is true, the Python prints the first message, and if it false, the Python will print the else part. So let's check it out. As you can see, let me show you. As you can see, we are getting the result as you are a student. So what we have done is the Python is checking that if the is student is true, then it's gonna perform the first statement, and here you can see it's gonna print you are a student. But if you write here a false, now if you run this, we are getting you are not a student because it is not going with the conditions. Don't worry too much about if and else yet. We will learn it properly later. For now, just understand that the Boolean values are useful when we wanted the program to need the work with yes or no type information. Now we know four basic data types: string, integer, float, and Boolean. But how can we ask Python that what type a particular value is? Python give us a built-in function called type. Think of type like asking Python, what kind of a value is this? For example, if I have C4, the Python can tell me that it's a string. If I have 21, the Python can tell me it's an integer. And the same thing work with float and boolean. So I have written the code. I have four variables, and all variables have the data types, that is integer, string, integer, float, and boolean. So now let's check it. So to get the data types, we want to write the print function, and then we have to write this type functions, and inside that the name of the variables. And if we now run this program, we can see that it is showing us that the first variable has string, the second have integer, the third have float, and the last have boolean. So whenever we are confused about what type of value is it, you can use this type to check it. And this also is very useful habit while you are learning, because instead of guessing what Python thinks something is, you can simply ask the Python. Now it's your turn. I don't want you just to watch me to write code. I want you to try it yourself. Create five variables: your name, age, college, height, and whether you are a student. Then print all five values, and there is a small bonus challenge. Use type function to check whether the data types of your age and your name. You already know everything you need to solve this challenge. You know how to create variables, you know how to store strings, integer, floats, and boolean, and you know how to print them. So give it a try. Thank you to watch this video till the last. I hope you find this video very informative. And we will keep trying to bring more content related to the Python in this channel, that is IT Bro. So please subscribe to my channel and like the video. Thank you.